Nai, 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 ai, dai, dai. Shabbat shalom, gamar chatima tova. Things are seldom what they seem. Skim milk masquerades as cream. Your rabbi stands here a little different than usual. Thank you to the HMS Pinafore and Little Buttercup. So, what do you feel in your body right now? Perhaps some of you are curious. There's play, there's something wondrous going on. Perhaps others are saying, what? This is a serious day, and how is the rabbi being so irreverent? So many different experiences you each are having. So I'll be quiet for you to sense what your experience is right now. What sensations are in your body? What stories are maybe starting to swirl around? And when our experience of something surprising is negative, which sometimes it is, it's shocking, something shocking happens that makes us contract, hold our breath, and that happens again and again and again. Here, hopefully, you can feel the play. But the play is because life is sometimes playful and sometimes heartbreaking, like it is right now in life. It's playful, it's beautiful, the music, and it's heartbreaking to be alive right now. And so we freeze, we go numb, maybe we become sick. Maybe we run away and we hide our heads and we pretend that the news and all the things that are constantly bombarding us, constantly, not only when we search them out and not only because those who create technology know how the brain works and know how to get us hooked with dopamine, that we keep checking email and checking our phones and all those things, but the news flashes across our computers when we open our computers often. And we go to call somebody or check something, and we see little lights going on that say, oh, more suffering in the world. There's another storm, there's another school shooting. There is something really painful going on, and it's really hard to figure out what to do with that. So those trauma responses: flee, fight, freeze. And perhaps some of you have heard of the trauma responses also called fawn. We say yes when we don't mean yes. And there is some that recognize a trauma response that's different than fight, called annihilate. When we have given up all hope, we perhaps have felt some of these in our body, and we have seen others expressing that. I invite you right now, what is your body sensing, holding? Is there at the slight levels, what's your forehead feel like? Your neck? Your heart? So not only are there news, the constant bombardment of news at the gas station, in the restaurants, it's really hard to get a break. But not only that, there's a lot of confusion. Raise your hand if you know somebody who has a very different idea of what truth is right now. Right? Yeah. We can laugh with the pain, the heartbreak, the unbelievableness of such different worlds, such different radical worlds of people who say, vote for this candidate for president, because this candidate wants there to be freedom for you, for generations. This candidate does not want fear. This candidate is solution-oriented. And let me say that the person who sent me that Instagram reel of this woman who was saying, please vote for this candidate, was saying to vote for a very different candidate than I'm going to vote for. Where is truth? What are lies? Things are seldom what they seem. And so what are we going to do? Well, we see the trauma responses that we know how to do, the habituated responses. And if we look around, we also see that those responses are not really having the outcome that maybe many of us would like. Can't we live together? And the violence continues, and the separation continues. And we maybe wonder, what can I do? And so a question I like to ask is, what have we not yet done? Or what's missing? And before I go there, I just invite us to take a sigh. Yeah, and another. Yes. That is one thing we maybe don't do as much as we might. I invite you to sigh a whole heck of a lot more. Notice your body right now. Does it feel different after the sigh? The power of a sigh. There are some other tools, but first, before I go into them, I'm going to give you a couple examples of people who inspire me. Things are seldom what they seem. A couple examples of pretty intense, life-threatening situations, and how did they turn out? Maybe you know some of these stories. Louise Hay, at one point, was hitchhiking. She was hitchhiking, it was dark, she was tired, and finally, someone picked her up. She was so grateful for the ride. She got into the car, they started driving, and she looked over at the man who was driving, and she had a sense, and just a warning that some of these, they're about death, facing death. Sorry for the last minute. She had a sense in her belly that this man was going to rape her and kill her. And she was in the car. And she had a choice at that moment. And however it came to her, she decided that she was going to tell him how safe she felt in his presence. And she was so grateful to be in the car with him, because she knew he would keep her safe and protect her. And he did for a long time after that. Byron Katie, my teacher's teacher, was walking in the desert and came upon a man who was cooking drugs, and he held a gun to her and he was going to kill her. And she knew in that moment that she didn't want to die in fear. And so she opened into love, into such love that he dropped his gun and turned to her, weeping and hugging. Medjdi Tour's co-founder, it's a tour company that Tiana and I are talking to about a potential Israel trip, Check your gray sheets for the date to learn more about that. Founded by an Israeli and a Palestinian, the Palestinian Aziz Abu Sara. Like some Palestinians, his older brother was taken by the IDF, put in prison, was beat up in prison, died. Other members of his family died. Aziz went from being a straight at 10 years old. He went from being a straight A student to a C student, and he was overtaken with revenge. We can understand that annihilate response. And he decided at one point, though, he realized after some number of years, wait a minute, I am giving power over my life to the one who killed my brother and my family members. I don't need to do that. They are determining what I think and how I feel and what I do with my life. And now he runs dual narrative trips in different parts of the world, including in Israel. Lastly, Rachel Adari. October 7th, she was on one of the kibbutzim that was attacked by Hamas. The men came in, and however it worked out, she was able to offer them tea and cookies and tell them, come, clean your guns, be respectable. It doesn't have the happiest ending because sometimes when we are faced with death, we do need to protect ourselves. And she was able to signal to her son and the police, and they were able to come and kill the men. But she paused the attack. The presence of each one of those people, who they were when they were facing death, is what changed the outcome. May we never have to face death in that kind of way. But we do not hear stories of people who disarm through who they are being and how they are being. Being in their body, grounded, some space. So let us take another breath together and sigh. And one more. The vagus nerve gets activated in a good way when we sigh, when we move our bodies. So allow yourself to move a little bit in your chair, because I'm talking about life and death, because it is Yom Kippur, where we wear white and we celebrate life and we face death so we can live the way we most want to live for however long we are alive. But these teachings about coming back to our body, who we are, I would like to suggest that when we don't do that, by the way, we are imitating what happened. We are leading to what happened 2,000 years ago with the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. The destruction of the temple, the Jews were under siege, but they had food within the walls. The Roman forces were very strong, but there was food and water in Jerusalem, in the safe walls. But we didn't make it. Why? Because we let divisiveness and stories and unconscious things going on within rile us up, so that the two parties, the warring sides within the walls, the Jews within the walls of Jerusalem, decided to burn each other's food. Maybe we can see signs of that kind of divisiveness, trauma response coming out of a desire to protect oneself in this world we are living in. But it's yet unwritten if we will be sealed in the book of life or not. And so on this Yom Kippur, I would like us to remember that there are stories of people who create different futures than the ones we might expect when faced with a gun When faced with someone who is sick, who is threatening us, and the answer lies in Rabbi Hillel's teaching, just 200 years after the destruction of the temple, who said, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? Im ein ani li, mi li. Ukshe ani la'atzmi, if I'm only for myself, ma ani. What kind of a being am I, consumed in selfishness? V'im lo achshav, if not now, matai, when? The days are passing. So, im ein ani li, mi li is the first part. If I am not for myself, if I am not attuned to my subtle sensations, to my holding, and the ways that when someone sends me an email, I take it and I know what they're trying to say, and so I respond, or I hold it in because it's not helpful to respond, and I keep holding it in, I'm going to explode, I'm going to implode, I don't know, something not good's going to happen. Or not. We can take that teaching and we can remember, again. And let ourselves be crazy for the good and crazy for the life, because it releases and lets us then show up with the spaciousness and the love in any moment, in every moment. It allows us to write ourselves into the book of life, not ourselves, me and me and me and me, but as the Amidah tells us, all of us, may we be written into and sealed into the book of life. So, before I close, just a moment to attune to your body again. And if you need to move your toes, your fingers, wiggle a little in your seat, move your head, your shoulders. A reminder that you can check in with your body multiple times, not only when your rabbi comes down with a mask and a staff and a song that doesn't seem like it has to do with Yom Kippur. Tomorrow afternoon, there'll be some time during the meditation and chanting time. I'll be switching it up to actually do some different practices to help us connect and release. On your handout, there are also some dates listed. That's why I said you don't have to look at it now. Some dates in the future, not on Yom Kippur, where you can come, focus group-like times. Tell me, what do you need? What might we do together in our special community that you can't do anywhere else? Now that you know some of what I'm holding and thinking about, what practices, what support do we need individually as a collective to gain clarity about acting in the world? The date is on there to talk about our upcoming potential Israel trip, so I hope you will do that as well. And then tomorrow afternoon, there is a conversation with Alana Tipton about having challenging conversations, skills, and that she, as a social worker, is bringing to us, social worker and MCPS, will be bringing to us. So we hope that you can join us for that as well. But even if you do none of those things, remember that you have multiple opportunities every day to practice. When you notice someone doing something, what's going on for me? In ein ani li, mi li. It makes you happy, it makes you sad, it makes you tight. What's the story that's happening? What's the body experiencing? Im ein ani li, mi li. Arranged by a version of sorts inspired by Yonatan Rezel that we can sing together. And your part is mm, 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 mm. little stronger. I've got a mic, yeah. And you on Zoom too, we want to hear you. We don't really have to unmute, but. Im ein anili mili mili. Im ein anili mi. וכשאני לעצמי, מה אני? כשאני לעצמי, מה אני? ואם לא עכשיו, אימתי? אם לא עכשיו, אימתי? אם אין אני לי מי, אם אין אני לי מי, אם אין אני לי מי, אם אין אני לי מי. וכשאני לעצמי מה אני, כשאני לעצמי מה אני, ואם לא עכשיו אימתי, אם אין לי אני, אם אין אני לי מי לי, אם אין אני לי מי. Gamar Chatima Tova, may we seal ourselves into the book of life. Amen.
Amen.
And so we get to shift into Slichot. Where are the places where we have missed something, where we can say Slicha? And it can be because we really hurt somebody, or maybe it's because we just didn't know. We just weren't encouraged to check in with ourselves, to notice the wisdom in our bodies. There's so many things